There's one thing, Mr. Lane, that really bothers me, and it is in terms of whether the central bank is a bank for Dublin or it's a bank for the whole of the state. Because in terms of unemployment and reducing unemployment and all of that, I come from Mayo, as you know, on the west, and there's vast areas that have hugely high unemployment, up to 30–35%. My colleague talked about immigration. Immigration is still a reality for most of the people in my area who can't get jobs. I mean, an example of it is, you know, there was 1,500 applications for 30 jobs in Mayo County Council, 30 outdoor staff jobs. So what I'm concerned about is that your opinions and all of that are feeding into the government policy of the concentration of the policy that isn't going to address what's happening in the regions. And without the regions, we're not a whole state or a whole country. So maybe you just speak to that for a minute in terms of how important do you think the development of the regions are in the context of what's happening at the moment?
So we in the bank do not just look at the overall number. We absolutely, and because we now have a lot more detailed data than we used to have, we have, I think, quite a good understanding on a county-by-county basis. So, for example, when we think about the mortgage problems, or we think about house prices, we think about employment, we do have the detailed regional data, and that does feed into our thinking. So we are mindful of regional differences, but when we, in the end, at a macro level, we have national policies. So what's necessary is not for us as a central bank, but in terms of the conduct of government, is in addition to striking the right balance at a country level, is within that you do need all of the arsenal of regional policies to address these clear differences across the country. By the way, when you look back at the crisis, the scale of the downturn was far more severe outside of Dublin than in Dublin. I mean, Dublin did have a recession, but in no way. So there's absolutely, there is a kind of asymmetry between what's been going on in the, and I would say more broadly, what we're seeing is Dublin, Cork, Galway, Limerick. There are kind of this urban areas are performing quite differently to the more isolated areas.